We all know the power of positivity can change our lives, and that's what we'll be talking about today. Hello, and welcome to Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. I am so pleased to welcome Joe Martin. He's an author, speaker, podcaster, and owner of Relentless Positivity Fitness, where he provides fitness training in person and online, and nutrition coaching for women, as well as fitness mentoring for kids. Thank you so much for joining me, Joe. Appreciate it.
Oh, Robin, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I'm flipping the script on you because I was just on your podcast. So this is a great thing to be able to have you on mine. Thank you for being here.
Oh yeah, I really enjoy having you on. People got to listen to that. We'll give them the link on that one too. But yeah,
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, I had a really good time talking with you. So let's talk about, how you got into this business, why you're doing it. I mean, the big thing to me is you lost 50 pounds. That's amazing. I always say I lost 50 pounds, 10 pounds, 5 times. So that's what a lot of people do. So, but you lost a full 50 pounds. How did you do that? And did that inspire you?
Yeah, so I was an athlete growing up. Football was my main sport, and I was always trying to get bigger. And I got bigger, but not the right kind of big. I was an offensive lineman, so those guys are supposed to be kind of bulky. So I got to that point, but then when your playing days are over, you don't really need all that. It's not that great for you. So the one thing I had started to do losing weight is I started reading food labels. That was my one step. That's what people get overwhelmed with all the steps sometimes. So my thing is, I'm gonna look at what I'm putting into my body. This is garbage, is what I'm. No
It's
wonder.
amazing, isn't it? If you can't, pronounce it, it probably shouldn't go into your mouth.
Yeah, we're putting all these chemicals and sugar and calories and all these things in there. And oh my gosh, this is 3 servings. This isn't 1 serving. So just learning about serving sizes and reading food labels, just where I got jump started on that. And after I lost the weight, I felt great. And I was like, man, I would love to help other people do the same thing. So I went to school to study all this fitness and nutrition and movement and all that good stuff. And that's all I've done ever since.
And that has to be so rewarding. And I'm so glad that you mentioned labels, because that is a great place to start if you're trying to drop some weight, or not even just drop some weight, but to live healthier, understand what you're eating, because it'll say, this contains 3 servings and you think it only contains one. So it's kind of like you really have to dig deep to really understand what a label is
Yeah.
telling you.
Any
So
of that
that's a good
packaging
place.
on there, that is straight marketing. That is not for your health. That's for to get you to buy that and eat that as quick as possible. That is not for your health. So yeah, being informed about what you're putting in your body, and if you're a parent, especially what you're putting in your kids' bodies. I thought I was doing pretty good. My son was little. They had like I forgot they were called these things. They're supposed to touting them as these fruit snacks that were healthy for you. I was like, oh, these are healthy food snacks for kids. And you look on there, the first ingredient, sugar. Then it's like red food dye, and all. I was like, my God, what am I doing? So
And they have
yeah,
like a picture of like a healthy kid on the front, or running through a meadow or spring, right? It's
yeah,
all in the marketing. And we
yes,
have to be smarter than that. Most people are smarter than that. And sometimes we just get overwhelmed. We're busy. We
right,
just pick something off the shelf. But I always say, educate yourself, take the time, because what's more important than your health, Joe, right?
right. Yeah, that's number one. You only got one body.
That's right. And your kids' health, we
Right.
set the tone for them. They don't buy the food, we buy the food. So that's very important. So talk to me about what you do and how you help people, and your podcast. What's your podcast called?
My podcast is Relentless Positivity. You may see a theme throughout my life on these things. So, yeah. So what we do is we do fitness class for women. So before I started my business, I was working on a military installation, running their gyms, and I worked for a hospital wellness center, and I was training private clients as well. And all my best clients were always women. And I would hear kind of the same thing, that they don't feel comfortable in the gym setting. A lot of them, I take them, on a tour of the gym and show them around. You could just kind of see, and sometimes they'd even say, like, I don't belong here. And oh, you belong here. Come on now. But they still didn't feel comfort. I knew there's some other way that we could offer a different way. So we started something just for women, and we do outdoor fitness classes as long as the weather's okay. So we got 2 indoor, 2 outdoor classes, just getting fresh air and sunshine and exercise and laughter all together. Man, it's a powerful combination. But yeah, we take away barriers to exercise. That's a good thing I was looking to do is, if they don't have to worry about these guys hitting on them at the gym, which can be a big issue for a lot of women, where they're just trying to come get their workout, and these guys keep coming up, interrupting their set and talking to them, things like that. And then you do go out in public, you got to worry about your hair and your makeup and your outfits and all these different things,
There's
and
so
if you could
much
just,
pressure, Joe. There's so much
yeah,
pressure.
so much, if you can just take those away, where, I had this lady, she was a 73-year-old lady. She came in her pajamas. Come on down, ma'am. All are
Come as you
welcome.
are. Don't even
Yeah, come
bother
as you
getting
are.
dressed.
He was awesome. Grew up on a
I love
farm and
that.
always fit, and just providing that safe, supportive atmosphere that, I always say that, everyone gets results. No one gets left behind. I don't care where you show up, if you're out of shape, you're whatever age you are, whatever size you are, fitness level, all that doesn't matter. I can meet you where you are and help you get you where you want to go.
I love that. I know people, if they're listening in New Jersey, where I am, would love to go, but you are not in New Jersey. Where are you? You're down south.
Yeah, I'm in Alabama, so North Alabama. So I am in the north part of Alabama, so we're kind of closer.
Little far to drive for a fitness class, but you do some
Yeah.
things online, nutrition counseling. But I really want to talk about your podcast. You started this over the pandemic. Tell me about that.
Sure. So, like everybody else, when I turned on the news or read a new article or anything, anytime you say everything was negative, it was scare tactics because that's what sells, right? That's what they want. They know people are going to click on that, and they know people are going to watch that. And hey, they're trying to survive like everybody else trying to run their business. But I wanted something to kind of counterbalance that. So I wanted to highlight people like yourselves who are out there promoting health, promoting positivity out in the world because there's not enough of that. I mean, for some reason, negativity sells. People don't like the others, but then they start people kind of whoa. Maybe if I looked on the brighter side, if I saw some happier people, oh, I start to feel better. Maybe that spreads a little bit better. So I just want to make my little dent in the world. So I started doing that, and then just like I said, and for me, it's been so great for me because I get to meet people like you that we probably would have never crossed paths before technology, before all this could happen. But you can be in New Jersey, I can be in Alabama, and we can share these moments right here. And it's just been so rewarding.
Absolutely. That's kind of how I feel about my podcast. I talk to so many experts in their field and also just sometimes everyday people who I say triumphed over, hurdled over something that was in their lives and they set the tone. They show an example to other people that it can be done. And it really is wonderful to be able to connect with people that way. So, what would you say when you wanted to talk to people? You've been doing this positivity podcast. How do you explain to people what it takes to be positive?
I'm just trying to get people to have what I'd call a positivity bias. If you have a choice in the situation, if you have a choice in the matter, why would you go to the negative side? Why wouldn't you go? I mean, obviously, I think for genetically, I think we're predisposed for the negativity because it's a survival thing, right? So is this a threat? I'm trying to avoid these things. But the science is showing now, especially with our kids, that all the negativity is adding up and we are more depressed, more sad. I mean, I saw the study already that, more than half of teenage girls have felt, continuously sad and unhappy. These are our
Yes.
teenage
And
girls.
often lonely and disconnected in an era where we're more connected than we've ever been. And yet, for
Absolutely.
whatever reason, I don't know if it's technology, but whenever I'm around younger people, they're all have their heads in their phones. They're in a group and no one's talking to each other. And I don't understand that. I don't know, maybe I'm just old, but put your phone down, look at each other, talk to people. And they're losing that connection, that personal connection. I don't know if you agree, but that's what I
Oh,
see.
absolutely. Yeah, and then the stats bear it out that since the iPhone was released, suicide rates have tripled for 10 to 14
Wow.
year olds. That younger age group, we're not built to have these things at all times. And they say comparison's a thief of joy, right? So you can get on your phone, you can compare yourself to the prettiest girl, not in your school, in the entire world. And she
Yes,
may have
and guess what?
filters
She
on.
doesn't even look like that.
Yeah,
She's
she's
got
full of got
filters.
filters all over her and all these different things, and she's been touched up and airbrushed online, or the strongest kid at school, or the best athletes, and all these things that you'll never be. You can't be. You keep telling yourself, "I'm no good. I'm not smart. That kid's a genius. Look at him." So you start comparing yourself to the best of the best. That's not the way to go. And then also the bullying issue. When we were in school, people got bullied, right? But when the bell rang, you could go home and it was over. Now, 24/7, 365, someone across the world can bully you that you've never met before. It's
It's
awful. So these kids are
terrible.
going through so much. So just that's one thing. That's why I started working with these kids is trying to get them to, number one, move your body, get off your phone. Let's get off this phone.
Yeah, put it
Get out of
away. It'll be
out your
there when
head
you
a
get
little bit.
back.
Yeah, get into your body and get out of your head. That's what I try to tell them. Hey, you're in your head all day. You're thinking about things. You're in school. You're thinking a lot. What? Just turn all that off for a minute. Just move a little bit, and then that kind of gets them talking and just getting the stuff out of their head and just talk about it. They feel so much better about it, and just giving them a path forward. That hey, you can work on skills and a big thing you mentioned it before. A lot of them do not know how to have these one-on-one conversations because they don't
Uh-huh.
have to. Because if things get awkward, they just go
Yeah,
into this.
yeah. They
I
just
mean, because it
look
can
at
be
their phone.
awkward.
Adults do it too,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
and we've all become sort of it's a sort of a they don't want to call it a real addiction, but come on. If you
Oh, it's an
cannot
addiction.
live without it and you get the shakes when you're away from your phone,
Yeah. Have you
you're
ever forgotten your
addicted to
phone at
it.
home now? Like, you grew up, probably most of your life without a phone, but now
Yeah,
you leave
and
your
we
phone at home, you're in a
survived.
oh my gosh, you're in a panic. Where's
I
my phone?
forgot my phone one day and I thought it was going to be the worst day. It was one of my best days because I
Yeah.
didn't have to deal with it. I wasn't looking at anything. Nobody was calling me. I kind of enjoyed it. It was like old school again. When I get to somebody, I go to a regular phone and call them up or I go see them in person. And I just wish in some ways we would get back to that. And I'd like to talk to you about the kids because I have a 23-year-old son and a 20-year-old daughter. And they are, they grew up with phones in their hands and that's all they seem to do. Their heads are always, I say, all I see is the top of your head because you're in that phone 24/7. And I just think it is so, we get them to exercise. We've been doing it with them their whole life since they were kids. So at least they have that foundation. But when they're done, they're right back on that phone again. But I do want to say there are studies out there that show that depression is such a big issue with kids and with adults, and that fitness and movement can really make a difference and change people so that they either eliminate or at least reduce their depression.
Yeah. And a big thing with the kids, I tell them, hey, if some of them they have depression, it could be chemical induced. It doesn't have to be, all these things coming from your phone. But I tell them, hey, give yourself a fighting chance. Move your body, drink drink water, have these healthy connections, social connections, get good sleep. A lot of them, because of the electronics, they're not sleeping at night. So all these things start adding up. These physical things can lead to that depression. And men, they're the most connected, but the loneliest people in the world right now. I've got kids that, they're connected to hundreds of kids online that they play games with and things like that, but they don't have one friend to sit with at lunch or one
Yeah.
friend on the weekend they can go, ride bikes with or go to the park or something like that. That's so important. That is part of your health, is these social connections. It's kind of something that gets forgotten, with the exercise, nutrition, and sleep and stress relief and all that. Social connect. Look at what happened in the pandemic. People's health suffered because of that. It led to a lot of the depression issues. It led to other health problems. So,
Yes. Yeah,
getting
absolutely.
getting back to, like you said, old school. That's a thing. We should start headed that way. And
I know, and
I'm
it's
I'm just as
unfortunate, like, I see that even in schools, they emphasize so much of the academics and unless you're on a team or in a club, so it's not for everybody, it's really hard to connect, and I don't know how they can fix that or make that better. I just wish there was a way that even in a classroom, they could get people to kind of talk. Sometimes I ask my daughter who's in college, "Do you know the people in your class?" And she's like, "No, they don't even talk in class. They're all on their phones. They don't get to know each other just because it's just not the thing you do anymore. It's almost awkward to talk to
yeah.
somebody who's sitting next to you.
Well,
I
it
just
is for a
can't
lot
get
of people.
over it.
It is awkward, and I'm probably, if I was at when I was that age, I probably would have done the same thing, bury my head in the phone, and not have to, because it can be painful and awkward to meet new people and put yourself out there. I mean, you got to do it, right? It's something you
Yes,
got to do. But if you,
absolutely.
but if nobody's doing it, it's like you got to interrupt someone on their phone to talk to them. People aren't going to do that anymore.
No, and it's so true. And it's so vital that we start our kids off young, I think, and really set the tone for them. I'm glad you mentioned the kids because who else do they look to other than their parents? I always say you can't tell your kid not to smoke with a cigarette hanging out of your mouth. I mean, that doesn't work. They look at what you do more than listen to what you say. So that's why it's so important for us to set the tone. And I'm sure you see changes in both your adults, your women, and your kids once they start getting physically fit. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. That's another reason I wanted to try to start training women, because if you look at it, women and moms especially, they kind of decide, where we're going to eat, what we're going to eat, what we're going to do in our leisure
We run
time,
things, let's face it.
yeah, where we
We
go on
got to run it.
vacation. Most people, if most dads are like, all right,
What? Just tell me where to go, and
yeah, and
whatever.
then mom kind of decides, so it kind of trickles down. So that's been a really cool thing I've seen, is that the moms I've trained, then then dad starts working out a little bit, and then the kids start working out, and we all eat, and it starts feeding into everybody in the family, because everybody's going to kind of look at mom and dad, and if they're doing right, then I should probably be doing right. Yeah, you nailed it. You can say it till you're blue in the face, but if you're not doing it, they're not going to listen.
Absolutely. And it's always funny because you'll hear these stories about women being catty and nasty to each other. But what I found with most of my friends and people that other women that I know, many of them, not everyone, root for one another. We want good for each other. And when you're friends with somebody, you want to see them succeed and you actually encourage them and push them. Women have a very tight social network. There's a camaraderie there. Little different from men because women can sit and have a cup of coffee or just do something, with no real activity attached to it. Men either got to fish or build something or watch a show. It seems like you need an activity. I don't know if I'm right or wrong about that, but that's what
Yeah,
I've
you're right.
observed.
And that's a great part of my classes is that, sometimes I'm like, would they even notice if I left? They're just enjoying each other's company, working out together and they push each other. Hey, they make sure, I check in on my clients. Like if they don't show up, hey, where were you? And that means it's okay. But when someone from the class does it, that means so much more. It's like, hey, we missed you today. Where were you? So that's a great thing about group exercise is, the accountability, the motivation, and all those things that come from the people in the class.
I am so glad that you brought that up. I've been teaching workout classes since I'm 19 years old when I used to wear like leg warmers. that's
Oh
how
yeah.
that's how old I am. So that's about 40 years now. So I still do it today. And I still see that in there that people push one another. You work harder in a group, it's more motivating. You see everybody else doing it. And when someone doesn't show up, other people notice. So it's one of the best ways. If I had to tell somebody, get involved, that's one of the best ways to do it. Now, as you said, sometimes people feel a little awkward in a group. They might not feel ready for something like that. And that's okay too. I mean, maybe you can do it on your own, or maybe you can just walk with a friend. It doesn't have to be formal fitness. I don't even like the word exercise because
Right.
people sometimes shudder at that. I like to say movement. Just move. We were meant to move.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, I like to talk to my clients about doing neat activity. So that's just
Yes.
a technical term of non-exercise activity,
Uh-huh.
thermogenesis. So people like you and I are like, oh, that sounds good, but just call it a neat act. That's just
Yeah, that's
when
really
you,
neat.
yeah, that's really neat. That's just if you park your car a little bit further out and you walk in. Things that you can just, like you said, just fitting movement in there. And I try to encourage my clients to do little what I call exercise snacks throughout the day. Hey, get up, do 10 squats right here. Walk to the water cooler and back, grab a drink of water and come back. Just things where you're not locked in 8 hours a day, sitting at your desk, hunched over a keyboard. Hey, get up every hour, 30 minutes and
Sure. Well, how
stretch
about
and
when you're
walk around.
talking on the phone? We sit down. Why not move around? No one can see
Yeah.
you. Just walk when you have a phone in your hand. It's
Yeah.
funny because I've been trying to get 11,000 steps a day, up it from 10,000, and I was 1,000 short the other day. So I started walking around the perimeter of inside of my house, and my husband thought that was hysterical. So he decided to videotape me. He thought that was really funny. I'm
Oh,
like,
there's
don't
been
you
plenty
dare
of times
post that.
my
But
wife does
I
these
wanted my
walking
steps.
challenges at work, and she'll have
Yeah,
to hit her 10,000 steps, and she'll be brushing her teeth right before bed. Like, oh, I got to get 100 more.
she's got
So
it more.
got to get them in. She'll
I
get it.
love that. Now, what is wrong with that? I mean, if you're
Nothing.
going to be sort of like a little bit crazy about something, be crazy about being fit.
There you go.
There's so many other things that people kind of, are drawn to that aren't good for them. Why not be drawn to something like this that makes a difference? And you know what? You said it, not just for you, for your entire family, for
That's it.
everybody, because you're showing up better for them and you're setting the tone for them. And that can change not only your life, but their life as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes such a difference. So tell us what you do in your podcast. Tell about some of the people that you've interviewed and some of the messages that you share.
Some guy I had on recently named Philip Blackett. He actually wrote 6 books at once, which I had to. Oh man, I was like,
What?
so hard to write a book, and you put out 6 of them at once. But one of them was about how to argue without disrespect, how to disagree without disrespect. Because I think that's in an election year, especially about how do you argue with that uncle who's really, pro Trump or pro Biden at dinner time and still remain family. So there's all these things that we just kind of tips and techniques that we can do to argue with people, but still, remain cordial. I think that's something we've lost in society. And he taught me some things about that. So that's just a way to kind of keep things positive right there. And then another guy, he was he was paralyzed in a horrible truck accident. He got blindsided in a car accident, and just his comeback from he barely made it, and then he's I don't want to live anymore. To I'm in so much pain and all these different things, and just how he's kind of rebuilt his life, and he's got these big dreams about opening this holistic wellness center that he wants to help people do heal from spinal cord injuries and just trauma and all these different things, and just all these amazing people that are out there. If we'll just look for it, there's so many cool stories and so many people that are doing these things that you'll never hear about unless you're looking for it.
I know. I have met people like that myself. A gentleman who lost a 17-year-old son, and other people who've overcome drug addictions or alcohol addictions, or just tremendous obstacles. A woman who lost 300 pounds, like amazing stories. And it makes you really put things in perspective, doesn't it, Joe? When you hear a story
Absolutely.
like that, you think, I don't have a problem.
Right.
My
Yeah.
stuff is small compared to this. you
That's
know
it. Yeah.
it really does make you think about things. So if someone wanted to reach you, to work with you online, I know you do have some programs online, or to listen to your podcast, where can they go?
So my website is fitandpositive.com, and you can just look for Relentless Positivity Podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, wherever it is. They're on all the major podcast platforms. The
I
best
love it.
episode, the one you got to check out, the one with Robin Stoloff. There's this awesome lady. You got to check that one, that one out. It's amazing.
That's the best one. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's
All right. That's great. Well, no, no bias here as you're
no,
on my
not at all.
show. But thank you so much. This was really a lot of fun, and I knew it would be, Joe, because you are terrific. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming on my show as well. I had a great time on here. And if you're listening right now, do the world a favor right now. Go to Robin's show. You'll go to her podcast on wherever you're listening. Give her a 5-star review. What that's going to do
Oh,
is going to help. It's going to help more people find this show that's lifting people up, giving them new ways to be healthy and fit. That we all need that stuff. So you can help somebody else by giving Robin that 5-star review. You can help
that's
everybody.
so nice. And right back at you, Joe Martin, Relentless Positivity. Go right ahead and say hello to him on that podcast, and give him a rating as well, because it is a great podcast. I've listened to it, and it really does make you feel good. You give a lot of good tips on there. So thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you for being with me today for Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. As Joe said, please give me a review, and follow the show, and I'll keep you updated on my most recent episode. Until I see you next time, keep living well.